None of this stuff is press braked, and so it's all in individual pieces. But the first couple of pieces I laid my hands on were the underneath braces, and all those holes were kind of blasted at an angle, so none of them lined up, and I had to re-drill all of those to get those to line up underneath. So I got those taken care of and lined up. Then I went to put this outer skin on, which is the next step of the instructions, and I did that, and it looked like that, and it didn't say specifically, but it looked like that they were supposed to come through with these, and they didn't. So I've got it on there as best as I could, happy medium in the middle, but you know, I got these big gaps here, and I mean, I can't really wire feed weld that. I got the same thing on the other side, you know, and I tried to adjust this way to get those to come out, and these don't line up with the brackets underneath. So this is where I got that too. So then I pulled the next step out. I've got your instructions that you sent me. I appreciate you sending me those, but none of these pieces are labeled to correspond with the instructions, so I'm having to go through a piece at a time and literally hold it up to the computer screen and see if it's the piece that you're talking about in the instructions. So that's a little frustrating. So then I got the next step done, which was I'm over here and tack this in, and it's nice and 90. Then I got the top one put on, and it looks just exactly like your pictures do in the instructions. And a little gap here. That's the way that your pictures look, so I assume that was fine. Then I got these pieces out, and this is long here no matter what I do on that corner there, and I'm already overhanging here, which isn't a big deal. But then I go to take the next piece and put this next piece up here, and if I line it up, see, I already broke one of my tacks. If I line that up flush like the instructions say and come up here, that angle isn't right, and that's way over there, you know. So then I'm like, okay, well, and then down here, that's way short if I bring this all the way up to meet that piece. So I'm like, shoot, okay, is it supposed to be over here? And I can't really tell from the instructions. It looks like that's supposed to be there, and that's why you had that line here in the instructions. So, you know, I put this up here, and that's off to the inside to the right, and this is overhanging to the left, and then that's short, and then that's long, and then that's long. You know, so then I go to put this one on, and it's over, you know, and so I could bring it up over here like this, you know, but then that leaves me like that. By the time I get that ground down, that's only going to be, you know, sheet metal thickness. And I got this other piece over here, so I thought, well, maybe I'll tackle it another way. I'll try to go up here and I'll try to work myself back over here. But you know, I hold this piece up and I'm short there, and I'm short over here. So I mean, it's obvious from your instructions and your design that you got to go from this side and build it around and build the box back underneath here. But I mean, even when I take this bottom piece, sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed, bro. You know, you get this lined up down here. It's supposed to be on the inside of that seam. You know, I assume that's supposed to line up like that. It's not supposed to be overlapped here or up in like that, but if I line all that up and line this bottom seam up here, that corner's off by that much. And then so when this piece follows down, it's all cattywampus. I don't really understand how I'm supposed to run this corner and keep it true. And I'm only on the third piece of like 70. Alright, so I wanted to try and blame myself and see if maybe it was something that I did. So I popped a couple of pieces off and I started over to see if I could get it lined out the way it was lined out in the instructions, and there is just no way that this is gonna work, man. This gap here, I followed it along here like I was supposed to. Tack, tack. And I got this big gap back here because this won't lay down. If I put it inside on that seam, it pushes everything over. So I lined this piece up first so that I could line this piece up and follow it around the corner. And as you can see, just from trying to line this corner up, I'm already a good 1/8 of an inch over there. So when we come around the corner, and obviously this is supposed to be flat back there so you can weld it, so that's, as close as I could get it. And then you come over here, and I couldn't get this piece to roll down this direction because it's hitting here. This can't go any further in, so if I shift this over to get this flush, then it pushes this corner over, which pushes this corner over, which pushes this corner out. So I happy mediumed it and I tacked it, and that's, stick out my finger in there. I got that all tacked, I got that tacked. So then I put the bottom piece on. That's where it's supposed to be. Now in the instructions, the last two things that I would need to do on this is install that triangle, but it's nowhere close. Can't. Again, I apologize because I'm trying to do this one-handed, but there's that, and that's not going to work, and that's not going to work. And then this should be up with that, but if it's tacked to there, how am I going to tack it to there? And how am I going to bring this up? Can't. It just flat doesn't line up. And I really don't understand why that couldn't have been press braked together, why that couldn't have been press braked, why this couldn't have been press braked. That loose, that was press braked. This piece could have been press braked so that they all fit together, and I just have to tack it. Help. So the best way that I found and how I ended up building this one, and you can see it's nice all the way across. All my seams are pretty decent. I'm not exactly happy with all of this, but it's close enough to where I feel comfortable welding and grinding most of it. So how I ended up building this one is I didn't tack it here. I cooked this piece free, and I started with this piece flat on the table, upside down, and then I started building from there. So this was squared off. I used a square here on the table with this laying flat, and lined up my edge here, and I used the cap to square off my edge. So I tacked this first, so this was a good true 90 right here. And then I came over and I used the square and I squared this on the inside, and I tacked it there. So I had this piece, and this piece. Then I took these two spares. I laid this one in place and then tried to work myself around the corner. On this side, this piece that he sent didn't need to require any trimming. When I tried to work myself around the corner and get my edges lined up, you can see that these pieces aren't quite the correct size. So this one I actually did have to trim down a little bit on one, and on the bottom here I also had to take and trim this triangle a little bit right here on the tip. I trimmed a little bit of it off, and I had to change this angle to get it to fit in there and meet up right. So this was still on an upside down piece sitting flat on the table. I worked my way around the corner, so I got this portion of it built with this piece on. I added this piece here because it's flat to there, tacked it. Then I took this piece, tacked it to the edge here, and then rolled this down and tacked it. So that had that angle and that angle that I was looking for. I followed this back, tacked all it. This was already done, and then I had these last two pieces. So then when I went to put these pieces in is when I realized I needed to trim all this stuff. So I got that all trimmed up and tacked into place. I apologize that I didn't take video or many pictures of that. I was really struggling trying to get it. I was really trying not to send this kit back because it was being a handful on me, and I was struggling through it, and my clients are watching and nobody's really happy about it right now. So anyway, I'm sorry I didn't video that part of it, so bear with me. But so here we are. We got all that tacked in place. This was basically a box sitting on the table, and I had this piece. So then I brought this whole unit in here. I put a floor support brace underneath here, just a jack stand. I actually used a hammer and just stuck a hammer underneath there. Put that up into place where I needed it to be. I squared this off to the bumper, lined this up true, tack, tack, tack. Came back over here, made sure that my gap was nice all the way across, and that this finished at the fender flare where it needed to finish. So that all looked good. Went ahead and tacked that up. But as you can see, my triangle is still high here, and I've got this excess there, and more than likely, just like what happened on this side, when I tried to put that plate on there, because that gap and that triangle sticking down, we're going to have an issue here. So more than likely I'm going to have to trim this lower section of this out one way or the other to get that all to sit up flat to the way it's supposed to be. I then took this side off because this side was built onto the vehicle. I took this side off and tried to rework it, and because it was already partially built, it ended up with a little bit sharper of an angle down here on this side, but I think it'll be all good. Alright, trains and airplanes are gone. So I had to custom cut these because they came in and they had angle cuts on them, and you're supposed to just be able to put them in there and weld them in, but because all this stuff's free floating, obviously it wasn't going to work. So I cut an inch off of that one and about 3/4 of an inch off of this one. Now it all works. Alright, so we got the bumper fully welded. Now I've got to put these bottom pieces on, but they're supposed to be over here like this. And if you follow that edge and that edge, then this one doesn't meet up, and then that don't meet up. So I'm going to have to do some of this. And cut that off and flatten that out, and I don't know, I might end up putting a fish plate over here. Well, we'll see. Still got some more fiddling to do. She's a bumper now. If you look at this side, I got the plate on, and what I ended up having to do is I cut this piece off like we were talking about, and I actually took a little material off over here. You can still see it on this side. It was real similar to this, had a point sticking up, and I had excess material, so I'm going to cut that out. I got it tacked. I got it tacked there, and there, and there, and here on the corner, and this is all weldable, that's all weldable, that's all weldable. This is going to be a little much, but I'll probably go ahead and fill that, and then I'll get a piece of material and I'll stick a piece of material in there and bridge the gap. I'm assuming it's going to be similar on the other side. So Alright, this one ended up a little bit better. Actually, the gap's not quite as big over here, and I'm a little bit tighter. So whatever the difference is on this side is better than what I have over there, but I don't know. So anyway, so I got the pieces out and the rest of the instructions. And here I am. So I'm looking at these instructions, and it's telling me you start with this piece over here, and you draw this line that should be flush to the bumper surface. I did all that. Okay, and then I go and I grab this piece, and the first thing that I notice here is that the hole, I've got extra material here in the picture, and this hole's almost smashed flat against the back of the bumper for the tab stop, which is all fine. If you're looking at this picture, you can actually see extra material. This piece meets to the bottom of that, and there's extra material here. But if you look at the piece that I have, there's no extra material there. Like, this is, it's not even the 3/16 thickness of it. So I had to ground that hole out to even get it in there. Well, but if I put this in the hole, which I can't even get it in the hole with the bracket, I mean, there's where I had to grind some of it off to even try to get it in there. And then the other problem I have is, this has got a little bit of an angle to it, but that angle is definitely not that angle. So when I put this all together, when I put this in there, one, I can't get it in there unless I popped it loose, and that's why I popped it loose. But two, when I put this down in there, that's not flush down there. So, like, you want me to weld it to the side? Because it looked like in the instructions is welded here, welded there, and welded around the top, just like any other one would be. So there's where I'm at with that. Like, every piece I touch has been a frustrating mess for me, and I've got almost 3 times as many hours into this project right now than I thought. And I've done a lot of DIY products for a lot of different stuff, and I mean, quite honestly, this should have been press brake. There should have been a lot of pieces that were together partially for me, so I didn't have to go through all the headaches that I had to go through. But I'm not even done with the kit. I still got to do the ladder. I still got to do the spare tire mount. I still got to do high lift jack mount. I'm going to have to check my invoice and find out where my integrated hitch is, because I was damn sure that I was supposed to have an integrated hitch in this bumper. I clicked every button on your website to order every option there was, and even in your pictures, you've got integrated hitches on your rear bumpers, and my bumper doesn't have an integrated rear hitch. So,